Yes, what's good, producer friends? Back with another synth breakdown. This time for a song I released called "A Little Closer" a couple weeks ago. I'm just gonna show you the main kind of bass synth, the top synth in it today. But before we get into it, if you like content like this, you're a nerdy producer like me. I do these random synth breakdowns. I also produce, a bunch of random music and then upload it here. So go ahead and follow if you like this kind of stuff. But we'll go ahead and get into the project file real quick. So I'm just gonna play a little bit of the main drop just in case you haven't heard it yet. Get a little closer to the edge. Cool. So yeah, pretty heavy drop, but still kind of like fun sounding and not too serious. But I think a lot of the coolness of this comes from this main serum patch here that I have, and we'll go ahead and listen to that real quick. And so really all this is just Serum and mostly a bunch of native Ableton plugins. So let's go ahead and group all of these and just turn them off real quick. And we'll take a look at the Serum patch. I'll flip the skin to default so it's a little easier to read. And let's dive into this. So first we're gonna take off all the effects and just kind of see what we're working with oscillator wise. So you see it still has a lot of the same characteristics. The main kind of sound is just coming from these two oscillators. And so I have this oscillator B on a saw turned up 4 octaves, and I have it FMing the oscillator A, which is on the Icon Has Kick, which is in the digital. It's one of the default Serum wavetables. And then I have the wavetable position of Icon Has Kick oscillator. I have it just being routed to this LFO, or the LFO routed to that rather, and I have it just doing kind of a open attack kind of motion. So it goes up on one beat and then down on the other, so it feels like it's kind of breathing in a way. I also have the noise oscillator on direct out, so it's going above this filter, or out after the filter rather, but I have it pretty low, so that's just adding a tiny bit of high-end texture. And you can see I have this second LFO routed to the filter cutoff. So the other thing that's happening here is that I have some automation going on. Let's find the automation real quick. So I have the rate of this LFO speeding up in the second half of the bar. So what this is doing is making it so it's like so it has like a long decay for one of them and then a short, really snappy decay for the next. I want it to sound open and then plucky. Kind of almost if you were like strumming a guitar and then you palm mute a guitar. It's kind of like dun, dunk, but it's the same kind of characteristic. So just making that decay faster, basically. I'm not really using the LFO. I'm using it in envelope mode for this one. So it's more of an envelope rather than an LFO. And so the cutoff is getting routed, or the LFO is getting routed to the cutoff. And then I started to bring out more of the higher harmonics and stuff, because there's none in this really right now with this filter on it, obviously. So first thing was a little hyperdimension. And that kind of just excites the high end and makes it a little bit more wide, but also interesting with the high end, the little bit of white noise that's going on. Next, looks like we have distortion. Which is clipping it super hard, obviously, as you can tell. But after that, we have a phaser. And that's where it's getting a ton of the actual vowel-y kind of sound. You can see the depth is moving around just a tiny bit. And then after that, we just have a compressor. Just kind of making that attack on the plucky one hit a little harder and just like poke out a little more. And then an EQ that's doing literally nothing for some reason. Cool, cool. And now we get into the actual Ableton post-processing that I did. Looks like the first thing I did, put this notch filter in, and this kind of is going to make it sound even more vowely than just the phaser on its own. So you can kind of hear the difference between here. It's making it sound valley, but it's also kind of serving a utilitarian purpose by cleaning up a lot of that like 500, 600 hertz range, the stuff that can get kind of muddy on these kind of synths, especially when you're driving them super hard. You can kind of see here if I put in a spectrum analyzer, the difference even harmonically what's going on. So it's really cleaning up a lot of the harmonics around like 500-600 hertz here, but also making it sound really valley. So it's kind of like a win-win. Next thing is just taking out a bit of the low end, so we're not clashing it all with the sub bass underneath. And just a utility. This is just doing a little bit of volume automation, just making that pluck a little bit louder. Just a very small amount. And then after that, a little bit more erosion, which is on the wide noise setting, so it's making it a little bit more stereo as well. And then I think this kind of stuff was mostly mixing decisions, like it was either clashing with the drums or clashing with the sub bass for some reason. So that's why I have this second EQ on here. And just a mid-side EQ, pulling out a little bit of a certain frequency range around the 400 or 500 to 1K on the sides, and just making mono a little bit brighter. And then this G clip, which isn't actually doing anything, it's just limiting a tiny bit, just kind of catching peaks and stuff like that. And utility that is literally just making it 85% width rather than 100, making it a tiny bit more mono. Probably something I decided on in the mixing stage, so kind of random. So that's pretty much the whole patch. I think if you had Serum and you have some of these sweet plugins, you could probably make something really close. Hopefully this gave you guys some good ideas, and I'll play it one time real quick with the sub bass underneath. Echo. And yeah, that's going to be it for this week's video. I just wanted to do a little synth breakdown on that because I just thought it was a cool noise, and I'll definitely be, saving that and using that in the future. So I figured might as well just give away a little bit of sauce. And yeah, I hope it helps you in your sound design stuff, or gives you some good ideas for some sound design, or just inspires you to make some music. And next week, I have a tune coming out on Bomb Ass House Records called 5 Stars. So that's what my next upload will be. Definitely subscribe if you want to see that. But for now, I'm out.